He is the most charismatic, energetic, brilliant, remarkable, a stalwart, the best prime minister that Grenada has ever seen. He's our political leader. He's all of that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, brothers and sisters, our political leader, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell.
Woy, woy, woy. Woy. My dear sister chairperson, all you see NNP future around, watch the chairperson, sisters and brothers. NNP future is getting brighter and brighter every single day. The stalwarts are around, but the new generation coming forward. Friends, let me first do this. We have this session here today because of what transpired in Parliament. There was the catalyst for this meeting. And I think, therefore, I want to compliment and give a lot of credit to the NNP parliamentarians who are representing us in the House of Parliament last Tuesday. All the MPs, sisters and brothers, I want to recognize every single one of them. That's the first thing I want to do here. I want to recognize Brother Peter David. You take a stand. Stand up and be recognized. I want to recognize Sister Kate Lewis. Sister Clarice Modest Cohen. And Sister Emlyn Pear. Sisters and brothers, I say to you this, because when I was asked to withdraw a statement that I made, which was clearly coming from what was said by a certain gentleman, the Speaker clearly does not understand the fundamental rules of the Parliament. The Speaker proceeded to ask me to withdraw without even asking for proof, without even giving an opportunity for the system, the parliamentary procedures to be followed. In other words, the gentleman does not have a clue about Parliament. But sisters and brothers, when he did tell me that he's suspending me, that I cannot speak, and in effect he was telling me that I have to leave the House, I did not, let me make this point, I did not ask the other members of the House of Representatives representing you to leave with me. They collectively say, if you can't speak, all of us go in. And that's why I ask you to give them a tremendous round of applause for standing for unity. Unity of the new National Party. And that is what Grenadians are looking for. Grenadians are looking for people that stand up for them. And in that context, what we have today in the new National Party was built on the sacrifices of a lot of people who are not necessarily in the parliament of the country, but because of their sacrifices, We are here today standing on their work and their labor and on their energy. In that context, I want to recognize the deputy political leader of a new national party, Gregory Bowen. Gregory, stand up and be recognized for your service and continued dedication to the new national party. I want to ask, the party is the foundation of where we are. That's an organ. And the chairman of our party, Brother Oliver Joseph, stand up and be recognized for your presence here this afternoon. Brother Dabrio, our quiet stalwart from St. John's, he's here with us. Brother Dabrio, stand and be recognized. Brother Nimrod, take a bow. Brother Bello, take a bow. Brother Galway, take a bow. And all of you here, sisters and brothers, bow to each other. You are the lifeblood of the new national party. Sisters and brothers, sisters and brothers, I think Sister Emlyn spoke. I remember I was watching the Democratic Party convention in the United States. You remember that? I watched it religiously. And Michelle Obama came and spoke. You remember? And she had the house crashing down. And then Obama had to come. You know what he said? He said, oh, all you could do that to me to ask me to speak after Michelle Obama. And therefore I ask you all, how you all could ask me to come and speak after Emmeline Pierre here tonight? It's not fair, but I will try my best, as Obama did. Sisters and brothers, there's an attempt to instill fear in the politics of this country, to make you afraid to stand up for your right. What these people, especially this gentleman, I'm not even going to call his name, don't know, because he never had a history of sacrifice for this country. They never understood the struggles that many of you went through to make it to where you are today. They don't understand this. And therefore, they will not know that they cannot make you afraid to stand up for what is right for yourselves and your family and your country. The politics of vindictiveness, hate, and spite. You get the impression, sisters and brothers, that some of them believe that the taxpayers' money is for those privileged boys in the National Democratic Congress. Not even for those hard workers of the NDC who brought them into government. They are treated like spoils, sisters and brothers. They believe that only a few people must benefit from the development of this country and from the resources of this country. That's how they're operating, but they're digging their own political grave, sisters and brothers. The politics of incompetence is what's prevailing in this country. Your monies are being wasted. Every project is cost overrun by millions and millions of dollars, and no work is done. Everywhere you pass on the road is some big piece of road being cut off, and you don't know what they're doing, digging hole, digging drain. You don't know who doing what. It's all chaos, sisters and brothers. Sister Clarice spoke to you about health, the state of our health care, sisters and brothers. But one thing that troubled me the most, and something, colleagues, a lot of you may not understand, and that's probably one of the most serious things plaguing our country now, is the destruction of our institutions. Sisters and brothers, the Public Service Commission is supposed to be an independent body managing the public service of this country and giving us quality service. Millions and millions of dollars were spent by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, the British Development Division, and other friendly, and the European Union. Help us to put systems in place to ensure that the best public servants are placed in positions to help continue to build this country. But you have to have an independent Public Service Commission. Check the records, sisters and brothers, I speak to you tonight. Check the records of the persons who were chairperson of the Public Service Commission and other members that government chose to be involved in that Public Service Commission. Sisters, today the Public Service Commission take out the 2 members from the trade unions are behaving as members of a political organization, victimizing people who they perceive to be not close to the government. That's the perception. In other words, people have been promoted and demoted based on what their perception is, sisters and brothers. In other words, a lot of damage is being done to your country through the Public Service Commission at this particular time. And we need to speak out, and I will not hold my voice back, sisters and brothers. You must know, because some of them pretending to be nice and dandy, but behind the scene they're doing a lot of dirty work for this government. And therefore we will call them out. Sisters and brothers, we have to call them out. Sisters and brothers, you just have to look at the appointments at the top level of the public service, and you see what I'm talking about. I don't have to call names. Just check the records. The Police Service Commission is being destroyed, sisters and brothers. People are being demoted and transferred and promoted based on the perception of political association. When you interfere with the security of the country based on politics, you're endangering the entire country and the future of our children. Let us not play with this, sisters and brothers. This is a serious matter. You're dealing right now with a demoralized police force, because members do not feel that is your promotion or where you stand in the force is based on the amount of work you do or the performance of your work. So the police force and the security of the country seriously is being threatened, sisters and brothers. Another institution, the Grenada Development Bank. Sisters and brothers, the Grenada Development Bank was a bank meant to help. When it was established under the Grenada United Labour Party, it was supposed to be the agricultural bank to help the farming community. And later on, it became a development bank to help all sectors of the society: tourism, agriculture, small business, and so on. I remember, sisters and brothers, when we got into government in 1995, sisters and brothers, there was literally no money in the Grenada Development Bank. We built that bank, sisters and brothers, and ensured that millions and millions of dollars was available for small loans for farmers, for fishermen, and for small business throughout the length and breadth of the country. People never came to me as Minister of Finance or any Minister of Government and asked them to go and give you a letter to go and get a loan from the bank. They provided their documents and they got support based on their ability. And many members and supporters of this present government could testify that they got loans from the Grenada Development Bank. Sisters and brothers, they got into government, and what did they do? They decided to share up the money in the bank for themselves. One minister will get $1.7 million and another one $2-point-something million. Sisters and brothers, and others more. Even members of the board of directors of the GDB taking loans. Some members, or I want to qualify this, some members, not all. And that is why I say, when I see $25 million of the monies that's supposed to go to help the people of Karakou and Pidimanic and the small business to be resuscitated, when I see that money is going to the GDB, I said, I cannot support this because the same chairman of the board of GDB is still there. And not one member of the board has been changed. Therefore, in other words, expect the same thing to happen, sisters and brothers. I said, therefore, this so-called loan for small business, and they're telling you to go there and get 50,000 and so on, I hope and pray some get. But watch it. Mark my word. You will see a lot of them collecting the people's money, sisters and brothers, because of the connection with this government. Sisters and brothers, the parliament of the country is being destroyed. The parliament is being run as if it is an arm of the government of the day. The parliament is supposed to be independent. It's not an arm of the government. And I had to tell the Prime Minister on many occasions, you are not in charge of the parliament of the country. I have to say that so many times. I told him, you are not in charge of the electoral office. The electoral office is supposed to be under the guidance and control of the Governor General, not the Prime Minister. But it seems, sisters and brothers, I don't know. I cannot say that I believe that that's the case today. Sisters and brothers, that incident that occurred in Parliament, I want to say a little more on this. I recall in 1993, I was a lone member of the opposition representing the NNP, and the government was the National Democratic Congress in government. I remember being in Parliament, and as you recall, I spent almost 2 days dealing with the government and their policies and their programs, and it became very hot. And one member stood up and asked me to withdraw some statement which was absolutely accurate, and I said I would withdraw. And I remember then the speaker proceeded to tell me that if I don't withdraw, that he will have me thrown out of the parliament. I don't think he used the word thrown out, but that was in effect what he meant. And I said, well, Mr. Speaker, you have the power to do what you want, but I will not withdraw, something I know that's correct. I'm giving you this to show you the difference then to now. And he said to the Sergeant of Arms to get me out. Immediately, a leading member of the government side, I'm not going to call you names here, you may know who I'm talking about, got up and he said, Mr. Speaker, let's call for a break. Call for a break to cool our heads. So Parliament recessed for 10 minutes. And I went in the room with that member and the speaker. You know what the person said? He said, Dr. Mitchell, I know you want us to throw you out, but we ain't throwing you out because we know you're going to make old mass outside there. The member was smart enough to understand that it's not in their interest to have me out of Parliament on something that they could be embarrassed with. Check that, compare that with what happened today in the Parliament. The leader of the country sat there and watched the actions. And not a man move, so to speak. Not a man move. And that is the state of play. In other words, I'm comparing the National Democratic Congress of 1990 to 95 to the one today. I'm also comparing it with the one of 2008 to 2013. This present NDC is the worst government this country has ever seen. Sisters and brothers. Sisters and brothers, my take-home pay as Prime Minister was about $7,200. Other ministers was just about 6,000 something. I remember at one time we were thinking that members of the government wasn't fair. They were getting no increases when public servants were getting 4% or 5% increase. And I remember we are saying it's not fair, members of the government should get. And I promised, I called a certain person from the trade union movement and said that we believe that it's right for the persons to get this, to get that 5% increase. And so I'm alerting that individual. I won't say it's a man or woman, but I think you can conclude who that person is. Sometimes we have to call out each other in our positions. And I said, I expect that you would not comment on this because it is morally correct. The person said to me, you may do it, but we're going to make a lot of noise and we'll give you enough licks from the trade union movement, just for a 5% increase. Today, the present government raised salaries of ministers by $6,000 in just a few months. And not a drum was heard. That is what we're talking about, sisters and brothers. Not a drum was heard, sisters and brothers. I say this because it's morally wrong for us to conduct ourselves in that way. We have to stand for what is right. It doesn't matter which government is in office. It doesn't matter which section of the society existing in a certain position. What is right must always be right. And what is wrong must always be wrong, sisters and brothers. So an increase, $6,000, and in a way that it will not be put under tax. It was under allowances, so it would not be taxable. Because if they put it under salaries, the income tax man will get piece of the action. That is what we're talking about here, sisters and brothers. So, my friends, I want to go to that situation with burial in Carriacou. You know, it worries me. Really worries me. That here we have a government in office when Ivan came, and we saw the damage. And as members already told you, we joined CRIF. And therefore, they got $118 million in just 14 days after burial. $118 million EC. And remember, sisters and brothers, when they came into government, they said they shocked by keeping them leave all the money by $500 million. You remember the treasury was pregnant? You remember that? Sisters and brothers, you remember that we had instituted the Citizen by Investment program, and we had a limited number of successful applicants. They came in and thousands were given. In other words, they had a lot of money from the sale of passports. So count the $500 million that we left. Put the $118 million that they just got. Count the thousands of passports that have been sold. They should have a lot of money to solve the problems of the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique and the farming community throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Sisters and brothers, Samaritan Purse came in, and I was up in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and I saw them all over the place. And our young brother Devon Rocher was with them, sisters and brothers, working his tail off to helping the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. as a religious person. Sisters and brothers, we have to give credit where credit is due. Sisters and brothers, so this so-called excuse for the supplementals, I want to read to you many of the supplementals and ask yourself if you can understand where this money is going. I want to read it. $3.8 million to buy vehicles because of burial destruction by burial and play taking licks as a woman, no? For these boys and them behavior, no? Burial caused so much damage, them boy buy $3.8 million of vehicles. Cox, they say for Karaku, I don't know, you get one? You ain't get one? Now these guys, they bold face, you know. Listen this. Well, I told you already, $25 million, they say they put in GDP. Well, you know what's going to happen there. $2 million to replace the computers that burial destroyed. $2 billion for burial destruction of computers. $8 million for rehabilitation of small roads. 26 houses also in that allocation to build new houses in St. Patrick's. St. Patrick's, wait for them houses, you know, I hope you see them. I'm giving you a number so that you watch what's happening in your area when these boys come. $15 million to build 200 homes in St. Mark's and St. Patrick's. Well, Cox gave you some mathematics already. I don't need to bore you with this because they say it's $50,000 a house they're giving. So if it's 50,000 and you're building 2,200 homes, that is 10 million. So the 5 million, what they call that? What they call that? Tips. What they call that? No, Dabs, you must know something about that. You and Oliver. Tips. Is tips they call it? What? No, I ain't going there. Listen to that other one. Listen to that other one. $1.5 million for MIT. That's the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. MIT, that's in Boston, in the United States. To clean up Kayoko and Pitimatnik. Wait again. $5.4 million for Solid Waste Management Authority for a plan that they wanted to build for Kayoko and Pitimatnik. Plan, you know. A solid waste management plan for Kayoko and Pitimatnik. Cox, watch that. Another $1.6 million for cleanup of marinas. I'm reading all, you know. $5 million for uniform, furniture, and general school supplies. $5 million to replace medical equipment and supplies to ensure the restoration of adequate health facilities in Kayoko and Pitimatnik. Words, you know, words for so. $2.8 million for fisher folks. Then tell you what fisher folks, how they get in it, nothing. Listen this, $23 million to support the Agricultural Emergency Response Program. Sisters and brothers, the total and all the other numbers I did not call is $268 million. $268 million. And a lot of them, you can't tell which ministry is in charge. Works billing some, MIT billing some, social services billing some. It's a real callaloo, sisters and brothers. As somebody said a while, manje popot, sisters and brothers. But the point we have to make, sisters and brothers, there was a time they used to say that the NNP is a corrupt government. And they accused myself and Gregory Bowen and others of massive corruption. Not one of them have been able to prove anything against any one of us. But listen to that one, sisters and brothers. Listen this carefully about the guy's intention since they came into government. We had a limit on public expenditure for wages within the public service, the wage bill. In other words, we wanted as much money to be spent in developing the economy of the country, bringing investors, and providing support for small business, for the agricultural sector, for tourism, and so on. So we're limiting what the people, the bureaucracy, the size of the bureaucracy, and the amount of people within the public service, and we call it a wage bill of maximum of 9%. All these decisions helped us to get enormous amount of resources from international community and other sisters and brothers. But listen to this. My friends, as soon as they came in, they moved it to 13%. They increased it up to 13%, the wage bill, because they had to increase the salaries of themselves so that they would not have broken the law. So before they went and to increase their salaries, they went and changed the law to make it up to 13%, to give them that massive room to spend as much as they want. But before I go further on this point, I wanted to say something about this, about the Beryl and Ivan situation. You know, the guys had the boldness, the audacity to tell the people of Grenada. Some of them wasn't even born when Ivan came. Some of them just maybe little children and they just hear something. They said, how when Ivan came, I went on a battleship. You heard that, right? And how Deacon helicoptering all over the place in Carriacou every second was on the ground. Sisters and brothers, these people cannot tell the truth. Our sister said it. They don't know how to tell truth. My friends, Grenada was smashed up, as you know, destroyed. It's not like what we have today. A section of the country was damaged. The entire country, the roads were not passable. Water services were interrupted. There were no communications in the country. President of the United States was trying to reach me and could not reach me. He sent a special telephone from Barbados through the embassy in Barbados, flying with a telephone. And I had to go a certain section of my home to get communication, to talk to the President of the United States. Friends, that was the connection of the new National Party at the time, talking to George Bush of the United States. And he asked me to come to Washington the following few days. And I went, and he made arrangement with the international community for serious support to help. And he called me when he was, at that time, campaigning, sisters, for re-election, for elections in the United States. He called me on Air Force One, and I was in a meeting at the IMF in Washington. They told me I have a special call in a special room at the IMF. When I went in there, was the President of the United States. He asked me when I'm returning. I said by a couple of days. He said, well, I'm sending Colin Powell, the Secretary of State, to Grenada, and I want you to be there. Secretary Powell came to Grenada the following day as soon as I reached, sisters and brothers, and spent the entire day with us. And before he left, he announced over $40 million US support to Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martinique. But I'm saying this to say, we were all over the country, visiting schools, visiting places. I remember I went to St. David's. I went to St. John's, St. Patrick's, all over the country. My friends, you know what happened then? We had no communication. So the British ambassador sent a delegation to be at Happy Hill, and he said, listen, the entire world. So the incident with George Bush came after this. I'm going to tell you about the story of the British with his battleship. He said, the whole world waiting to hear from you. They're not hearing anything from the Prime Minister because you have no communication. And that's almost a week and a half after Ivan struck, and we are all over the place. He said, we have a communication system on the battleship outside of the harbor right there. If you could come and spend an hour or so with us, we could have you talk to the world because the world want to hear from you. So I listened to them and went with them for 1 hour to talk to the world, sisters and brothers, about the damage in Grenada, Carriacou, and Martinique. And this and these. My mother tell me not to cuss. But that is the kind of people that is running the country today. My friends, I am proud that we have this team and you all standing with us to take care of this beautiful country of ours. I'll give you another. I told you about the increase in the wage bill. My friends, Minister of Finance, then government, Gregory Boyne, and the cabinet decided that if we're going to give contract to people, they must go through the tendering board. So we put a limit on the amount that you can just give out as contract without going to the tender board. And we put it down as $15,000, sisters and brothers, maximum. So anything above this, you have to bid and you have to go through a process. So the politician cannot just give all kinds of money to persons without accountability, sisters and brothers. I am telling you what they did as soon as they came in with the wage bill. Immediately as they came in, they went to Parliament. And they moved that amount from $15,000 to $100,000 overnight. So contracts can be given $100,000 to anyone in the street. And there is no accountability for it. Because the Parliament they brought gave them the permission to raise it and give contracts. So some of them playing with the people's money, my friends. I'm trying to show you the emphasis was about taking care of themselves. When the NMP came into office, the initiative we did was about taking care of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Martinique. But they themselves, every action was about themselves. And the last one I want to point out, sisters and brothers. The last one, sisters and brothers. My friends, no, you don't make people that are not important. All right? So listen, my friends. We, in managing the affairs of the country, said we want to keep the debt of the country to a limit. There's something called the debt to GDP ratio. GDP represents the sum total of all activities in the country, and the debt is the debt you incur. So we want to keep that ratio small as possible. So we had it down with the international community to 55%, so that you can't spend more than you earn, sisters and brothers. They made a decision and they went to Parliament to move it from 55% to 60% to give them more room to incur more debt on the people of this country. So everything they did in the early stages was about themselves. So every action you see them take now is about themselves, sisters and brothers. I am so proud. I am so proud that you are here today knowing that we are supposed to be in St. Andrews this evening, and you got a call that we have to change to come to the Trade Center. And look at the numbers of you here. Look at you here, sisters and brothers. You know why you are here? Because you believe in the new national party and you believe in the development of this beautiful country of ours. And that's why I am proud. I am proud of the leadership that you see on stage here, the leadership you see down here, there, and more coming to continue the development of this beautiful country of ours. So I say to you, stand firm, hold tight, We will never let you down. The NNP will rescue the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Pedimatic. Thank you and good evening.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.